And welcome to another episode of Assets and Algorithms, the show where we explore the intersection of real estate and technology. Today I have Ricardo Salguero here with me from CS3 Investments. Thanks for joining.
No problem, man. No problem. Happy to be here. It's Salguero, but
Salguero.
you got it close.
Excuse me. Uh, so yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation. You guys are doing a ton of amazing things in the investment space, and I know that you're the CTO over there. So I'd love to dive in and just ask you to share a bit about your role and how it fits into the bigger picture.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So yeah, man. My name is Ricardo Salguero. I am the CTO of CS3 Investments. We are a multifamily real estate operator. We currently have 1,509 units in our portfolio. We are currently in the process of course, scaling all that into a bigger portfolio. We have about 200 million in properties we are aiming to acquire this year, 2025. And we've had amazing results in the specifically Class A multifamily space. And yeah, currently I serve as the Chief Technology Officer and Chief Marketing Officer for both our investment companies. Actually, I would say our investment companies, our properties, and our students, because we have a coaching program that teaches people how to invest. We have, of course, our investments, and we have, once we acquire properties, we make sure we operate with excellence. So we do marketing and technology for the properties themselves. So yes, we cover the whole, we're basically a vertically integrated operator that we cover everything from education to operation of investments and giving great returns to our investors.
Awesome, man. Awesome. It sounds like you guys are really organized, really focused. It sounds like you're fully, like you said, you're fully integrated. I'd love to hear about, since you are the CTO and CMO of the organizations, I'd love to hear about the technology that you guys are using in a typical day and what that looks like for you managing everything.
Yeah, man, absolutely. We actually run a pretty tight ship, a remote team. One of the things, even though we use technology, which is very important, one thing I want to stress out is that we'll talk about AI, and I'll tell you what the different things we do with AI. But one of the most important things is in the role of AI nowadays. What's happening is that the people are not. They want to give everything to AI, right?
Mhm.
And in the age of AI nowadays, I want to just emphasize that the human touch is what's going to make you different, right?
Right.
So, for example, let me give you a specific example. Yes, we use AI to automate, for example, from a prospect that wants to be a tenant in our property to all the way to be to schedule a tour. And you can use AI in creative ways and to automate that process and give information and ask questions and be 24/7 in a giving the experience that you want to that prospect. Right? Different properties have different ideal clients, different avatars. Right? So you have to make that a good experience. So that's a good role with AI. But once that customer engages with you, the human touch is what makes these communities and this real estate work so well, right?
Mhm.
For example, what something that makes us different in the multifamily space is that we pride in our excellence in operations. So even though we have systems and dashboards and reports and everything that helps us get information out there, we have a person, a human being living in every one of our properties, being an asset manager, and he's that person, he or she is in charge of making sure there's community building, there's a much better community, which in turn more people wants to live there and they wanna pay more to live there. So that whole thing with AI is combining it, right? Is using it wherever you need something that is repeated, that you can create a positive experience for whoever it is, right? Whether it's your investor, your student, your tenant, right? But at the same time, making sure that those touch points that are so critical to give it a human touch. Sometimes people miss that, and that's that little secret that when you implement it, AI with human touch, you're golden. So that's how we. I know I didn't give you a tool specifically. More is our mindset when it comes to customer experience and AI, which has served us to to have the results that we've had in such a short time, you know.
Listen, man, I love that answer actually. I think that's one of the main most important things when we're approaching this technology because AI is still new and the human touch I don't think is going to be replaced because AI can do so much, it'll enhance what the human is able to do, but having them together is going to be what gets you the best results, like you said. So I definitely appreciate that. And I'd love to jump into what major shifts are you seeing in the industry right now?
Man, I mean, it's a great time to go after big opportunities, right? Because what happens in the industry is, look, with Trump being in office and things are changing, a lot of this what Dodge is doing with getting expenses out, what's happening in the stock market, all those things that are relevant right now, right? What is happening is creating a little bit of fear in people's hearts, right? And
Hmm.
you know, and there's you can make the most money when there's blood on the streets.
Hmm.
So the thing is that it's as an operator and as an operator investor, right? And nowadays is actually one of the best times to go after big deals, right? Because you have less competition, less people are on hold, right, waiting to see what's going to happen, right? And we're currently going after very large deals where we have LOIs in three big properties across the Midwest, and it's a great opportunity to do it. So I see those shifts happening where you can have, if you trust your process and trust your numbers, there's great opportunities to acquire amazing deals at a great value because both the sellers and the buyers are scared, right? Which helps people that want to take action, right?
Right.
That's one thing. The other thing, what we said before, the overuse of AI happens a lot, right? So adding those places where you can indeed create that value in human touch, it's going to be a great opportunity for people that take advantage of that, right? But obviously, I think the biggest that people are not doing is, if you're in any space, not just real estate, not just investment, and you're not using AI currently, you're already a year behind in everything you do, from your analysis for your properties, for your content, for your agreements, for everything. You're literally wasting time and money every single day you don't use AI, right?
Mm.
So use it responsibly, but use it because you're falling behind every single day. So I see those shifts in the industry happening. There are opportunities for those who do it right. There's opportunities for those people that are overusing it. It's good to, you shouldn't not use it, but you also shouldn't overuse it, right? It's that balance of using AI as a tool, right?
Mm.
Because it happens with digital versus in person, right? For example, what a lot of properties don't realize is their digital experience, right? So they care about when you show up to the clubhouse, right? They treat you great. They offer you some coffee, right? They give you a nice brochure, shiny brochure, all kinds of stuff, right? For you to tour the
Mhm.
property. They treat you like a kid, right? But many times what we've seen is that if you look at that digital experience, what it looks like, it's nothing like compared to that, right? And a lot of people forget that that's their first calling card,
Mm.
right? So if you make your digital experience as a investor relations, money raiser, operator, property, and you create that digital experience that is amazing for your customer. And with AI, you can do that very well. And with great systems, CRMs, that there's tools out there that will help you do all that. You definitely have that chance to take advantage of this golden opportunity we all have in this shift in mindset, right? In mindset of tool usage and AI versus in person. There's a big opportunity out there for sure.
I agree, man. I think definitely finding that sweet spot to where you're not overusing it, as you said, but you're using it because the people that aren't using it, I do believe that they are behind. AI is still very new, but it's very powerful and adoption is increasing really quickly right now. So I appreciate that answer. And I'd love to hear, you touched on it a little bit, but I'd love to hear about any areas in your business where you're actively exploring tech in order to gain an edge for the future.
Sure. A lot of we use a ton of AI for research, right? For
Mhm.
research for properties, for markets, for areas, for deals, right? So that piece, the more we can get it automated, right? The better helps us analyze properties quicker, right? Because our goal is
Mhm.
to have $1 billion under management by 2030, right?
Mm.
So we need to implement those things to be more dynamic in that sense, right? That would be the first one. The other is to implement systems, which we are always doing, um, with communication sequences, right?
Mm.
A lot of people forget that it's nurturing, right? Regardless of what you do, whether you're raising capital, managing a property, acquiring a property, talking to a broker, the money is in the follow-up, right?
Mm.
And if you don't have a system, I get floored many times that I see a lot of people that are very successful, have good businesses, but they don't have a good database, a good CRM, a good communication sequence, a follow-up sequence for their customers in multiple channels as well. Sometimes
Right.
people say only email. Right?
Right.
Nowadays, you gotta get different communication methods, right? You gotta get their number. You gotta be able to text them. You gotta be able
Mhm.
to call them. You gotta be able to talk to them in Instagram. Right? They're everywhere now. So
Right.
so if you have a system that joins it all, we have a great system that helps us take this entire ecosystem and have all those communication channels, and then you pair that with conversational AI, which triggers on a specific point. So I'll give you an example. We create bots where they get triggered, where say somebody contacts us on Instagram, right? And it starts talking to them, and the goal for that person is or that bot to nurture through AI to the potential tenant all the way to getting to booking a tour. But
Mhm.
it starts on Instagram, and then the bot itself starts communicating with that person via text. So you have a system where you have two channels to talk to that person and to be able to nurture that person. So if you don't have something like that to do your follow-ups in your business, if you don't have something like that to do your follow-ups in a property, same thing, right? You're doing a lot of manual work, and
Mhm.
you're doing a lot of and you're missing out on a lot of potential leads and potential investors that because you're not following up on them or you're not communicating with them often enough, right? I would say those two areas have been the most that we've implemented technology, but it's technology also. I want to tell you a quick story of how technology helps us excellence in operations, right? We've identified that there's just by you implementing this, we found a service because we're all Class A properties. Class A properties, you want a great community, right? So one of the big problems with communities, big communities, is pet waste, right?
Mm.
So basically, what we did is we're in the process of implementing a pet DNA service, right? So
Mm.
basically, what that means, man, is we when the tenant comes in, we swap, they sign on the lease that for every single waste that we identify as theirs, they have to pay a $500 fee. So, but what do we implement? We implement the DNA testing for their pet, because how do you prove that, right? So
Mm.
what happens is when they come in, they sign the lease. They get we swab the pet, the cat or dog. We swab their cheek, and then we send it to a lab, and that lab is already has it registered, right? So when our property management team is working the property every single day, we have a letrage, we have a lot of people in the property that are making that community amazing. They come and they see the waste, they go, they test it, and you get income for the property. Obviously, you clean it, but just by announcing that, for example, we saw a 70% reduction on waste, right?
Mm.
And then every other paid waste is money, right? Like straight up,
Right.
every single one of them is $500, right? So boom,
Mhm.
$500, $500. So that's an example of how technology nowadays can help you even increase the income of a property, implementing something that is also seen as an amazing thing, right? If I'm in a luxury community, right? Like this community I'm talking about is the Reserve at Cold Springs. Is a 266 Class A apartment complex in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, and
Hmm.
it's full of engineers because Ford has a $6 billion plant. It's the largest. It's called the Blue Oval Battery Park, and it's the largest electric vehicle battery plant in the world. And so all these engineers are moving to that state. They're moving to Kentucky to work in this plant, and they're
Hmm.
hiring 6,000 employees. So we specifically buy in places like this that are growing, and
Hmm.
those guys, they want an amazing community. So by us implementing this type of technology, we're also implementing a mini market that is automated, right? 24/7, and it works with cameras and AI, right? So same thing, right? I'm in a community, I want a Red Bull at 3 in the morning, whatever, right? I want ramen noodles at 2 in the morning. I can do it, and it's income for us for the property, right? So for us, it's operations, but then always increasing those using technology, using good ideas, using things that work for your community, being able to increase that value on all those properties, implementing all of the value added that the community loves, and of course the investor loves because their investment keeps increasing and everybody's happy, right?
Absolutely. Listen, I love that answer. That sounds like an amazing idea. And it drives not only community growth, community beautification, but also revenue. So that's amazing. That was really fully encompassing. It sounds like a lot of technology is working for you. You guys are really strategic with your investments. You have big goals and the climate is set for you guys to reach that. I'd love to hear a little bit about the challenges and what's been frustrating for you.
Look, what's been frustrating is, I would say in the acquisition side, right? One of the most frustrating things is working with brokers and sellers, to be honest,
Mm,
right? It's sometimes hard to move things as fast as we would want to, right? We're a serious player, right? We're not playing around. We're buying large properties. So we have the pool of investors. We have an actual partnership with Aspire Real Estate, right? Aspire Summit, one of the largest business conferences in the world. And we
mhm,
have investors ready to deploy their capital, right? And one of the most frustrating things is that sometimes due to attorneys and everything, things don't move as fast as we would want to, right?
mhm.
So just it is a patience game, it is a negotiation game, right? But
Absolutely.
I wish that can be improved, right? Or done faster. It's sometimes it takes that bureaucracy, right? But I would say that's on one side, right? And the other one is always we have to always have a pulse on the competition, not just
Mhm,
on our properties, right? Because what happens is a frustrating part has been that a lot of competitors in our space, not on the operation side, but more I would say in the property management side, right?
mhm,
They seek to commoditize a little bit this, meaning they're trying to race to the bottom. So what we've seen in some of the areas that we have properties and we compete with is that people are properties nearby, right? They keep lowering their prices to race to the bottom, right? And in our side is the opposite, right? We seek to be the most luxury property in town, right? The
mhm,
most expensive property in town, right?
mhm,
Because how we operate these properties, right? But the challenge is with good marketing, attracting that person, right? That person that doesn't want to that is for $20 chooses a much inferior community and property, right? Versus a property that it's gonna have a great experience, great time, great management, clean, safe, everything, right? So that's the challenge. It's frustrating sometimes, right? Because every single property we acquire, it's like think we acquire a business that
mhm,
has like, for example, this property in the reserve, right? It's like acquiring a business that has 216 contracts,
mhm.
customers that have year contracts of giving you recurring revenue, right? It's the same thing. That's basically multifamily, right? And you every single tenant or every single tenant means that much money for you, right? So taking 1,600, for example, this example by 12, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes, right, it just the people don't realize that that's how much a lead costs in this
Mhm.
space. right?
Mhm.
So you have to have something that makes you different, right? Something that attracts that tenant, that is not just making it cheaper, right? That's the laziest marketing strategy that exists, right?
Mhm.
And that's what kills markets, right? What That's why things become commodities. What needs to happen instead is creating that value add, attracting that person that doesn't nickel and dime you, because that same person that comes that does not nickel and dime you also is going to pay the money, is going to pay the rent on time, right? It's also going to be the one taking care of your property. He's also the one that appreciates things like valet trash and EV chargers and DNA testing and stuff like that, because they're like, man, it's like, I'm living in a luxury community, right? I'm expecting these type of things, right? And I'm willing to pay a little bit more for it, right? So for us, it's being disciplined on attracting buying the right communities, right? Attracting, first of all, attracting the right investors, right? Then acquiring the right communities. And then once those communities run in such a way that we become the example of how you run and operate a multifamily property.
Awesome. That was a great answer. Really thorough. I appreciate that, Ricardo. I'd love to talk a little bit about, and this will be my final question, your goals, right? You said that you have a $1 billion asset goal. I'd love to hear where you guys would like to be in 6 to 12 months from now. And what do you think some of the things you'll have to overcome to get there?
Man, systems, I would say, is the main thing, right? Being able to replicate quickly, finding properties, getting them in the contract, raising capital, right?
Mm.
Having all those ducks in a row to be able to do that quickly. And once we do have a great process um do proper due diligence and capital raising, right? Which we're doing, right? We see it as three different tiers to achieve the $1 billion mark, right? Number one is systems to attract students and then investors in the right way, which
Mhm.
are with our partnership with Spire and several other products that we're doing. We're already getting that to a place that it's automated. Second system would be once to find, analyze, and acquire the best possible properties, right? In our case, is 50 units or more, Class A, in amazing locations that have great growth, right? And then system number three, being able to then operate those properties in such a way that they continue growing in operations, and actually they continue growing as far as income, right?
Mm.
So by having all those three systems in place, the $1 billion is almost guaranteed, right? Because we're just replicating what's working. So that's our philosophy as a company. That's our philosophy with our partners: is learn it, master it, and then create systems that you can replicate it. Because managing a 55 unit property is totally different than managing a 200 unit property. So always you need to scale, but make sure you create those systems, right, to keep growing the building, right? Most people, they just keep growing, and they don't have that foundation. That's what's going to get us to the next level. And look, the fact that for us, just want to say it because it makes it very unique for us. One of the biggest unique factors for us is the fact that we're Hispanic, right? And we're bilingual. So it's making using who you are to your advantage, right? Because people relate to that, right? People relate to you. Some people relate to me, right? So by using that as an amazing driver, saying, "Hey, I want to get other immigrants like me." Right, that first generation immigrants into the U.S. into a space that they can protect and multiply what money they have with a lot of hard work acquired, right? And immigrants are really the driver to the economy to the U.S., right? Yeah. If you read The Millionaire Next Door, which is an amazing book, it's literally that's what happens, right? But they become then the second generation. They become comfortable, and then third generation, their money's gone, right? So by having us, by being able to help other people protect and multiply their money, it's a no-brainer to continue scaling this, because Class A multifamily real estate, man, is truly the gold mine, right? It's the number one asset that will be the safest and will get you rich for sure. right? You just have to learn the game and invest in it. And it's the number one asset out there.
I love that answer. I definitely agree. It's class A for a reason. I'd like to take this time to allow you to let people know where they can find you if they want to continue talking to you or if they're interested in becoming a student or investor. Where can they find you?
Awesome, man. Yeah, you can find me. Our website is infinitecashflow.com. And you can find my brother Carlos on YouTube as well. That will have all our links and everything. And his YouTube channel is, give me 1 second. I am Carlos Infinite. So I am Carlos Infinite on YouTube and on our website at infinitecashflow.com.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you for joining me today, Carlos. You provided a ton of insights. I love the conversation. And again, thank you.
My pleasure, man.
And that was another episode of Assets and Algorithms.